In 1984, Wolfgang Petersen's fantasy movie The NeverEnding Story enchanted audiences. The most expensive German production to date, made on a budget of $27 million, 100 million worldwide back, and received mostly positive reviews. Till now there is a sequel from 1990 and completely independent from the book, a third installment from 1994, an animated series from 1995, and a remake in form of 4 TV movies from 2001. Each with a completely new production team with increasingly shitty, more modest results, and except for Thomas Hill as the bookstore owner, who also plays the part in the second one, a completely new cast. But that's another story and will be told another time. To be precise, in the hate video, I mean of course, fair and objective cinema art review. Cup versus the NeverEnding sellout story. 10-year-old Bastian Balthasar Brooks lives with his father, who barely speaks to him since his mother's death, except when it comes to his declining school performance, and is regularly bullied by his classmates. One morning, while on the run, he takes refuge in the bookshop of Karl Konrad Coriander, who is reading the mysterious NeverEnding Story, but warns Bastian against it, who steals the book, hides in the attic of his school, and begins to read. The land of Fantasia is threatened by an all-consuming nothing. Its ruler, the childlike empress who lives in an ivory tower, is gravely ill. To investigate the case and find a cure, she chooses the young warrior Atreyu, a child of Bastian's age, and bestows upon him ultimate authority and magical protection with her amulet Aurin. He loses his trusty horse in a swamp, and while searching for clues he needs to get to the southern oracle, is rescued last minute by the luck dragon Fuchur, in the English version Falkor, and flown there. He completes the first of 3 tests and stands astonished before a giant mirror in which he sees Bastian reading, which in turn is shocked that the book describes him perfectly. There are 2 different NeverEnding stories out there. The US version is a few minutes shorter and also has different music. The original soundtrack is by Klaus Doldinger, where there is no music in some scenes, like in the first seconds, and creates overall a more sinister atmosphere. The music in the US version, with the gay Limahl pop trash nonsense, I mean of course, the wonderful hit The NeverEnding Story is by Giorgio Moroder, which until recently I didn't even know it existed. At the time I always thought the song had nothing to do with The NeverEnding Story itself, since it didn't appear in it. The movie was later also in the 51st state, I mean Germany Inc., with the US soundtrack garbage re-released. The film is based on Michael Ende's same-named brilliant children's book classic from 1979, more precisely, the first third. For Momo, from 2 years later, based on the 1973 bestseller by the same author, see the same-named rearView. Ende, who publicly distanced himself from Petersen's movie. I even saw on the news back then how he at a press conference angrily called the bare-breasted Sphinxes strippers.
Es handelt sich um ein paar vollbusige Stripperinnen, die da in der Wüste sitzen.
And was coerced into signing a statement under threat of a ruinous lawsuit in which he pledged not to take any further action against it, was so dissatisfied with the result at the time that he had his name removed from the opening credits.
Mr. Simpson, this is the most blatant case of fraudulent advertising since my suit against the film The NeverEnding Story.
The NeverEnding Story is one of the best fantasy movies ever made, and definitely a recommend. However, it can, for me personally, never hold a candle to its brilliant source material, which I already knew at the time I had just started high school after finishing elementary school, and at 11 coincidentally the same age as the book's protagonist. Back then, the first novel I borrowed from the classroom library.
When bring inside das book back to the library.
I already said as soon as I got through it, and which I always preferred to Wolfgang Petersen's Americanized, translated, dumbed down action spectacle. The novel uses, among other things, two different colored fonts, red for the human world and blue-green for the events in Fantasia. In the English version, for reasons Fantastica, and my edition also had some very beautiful illustrations. While the film and the source material tell roughly the same story, they differ in countless partially relevant details. In the book, Atreo has green skin. His tribe is even called the Greenskins. And his horse Artax can talk. Fucho isn't that fluffy either. He resembles more dragons from Chinese mythology. And Bastian is a bit chubby and unhappy with his appearance, which he, as first action in Fantasia, radically wishes changes into beautiful and strong, paired with courage and wisdom. The human world, not specifically assigned to a particular country in the book, is quite obviously in the US in the movie, which made back then absolutely no sense to me as a child, since everyone there clearly had German names. Furthermore, it ends where the real story, Bastian's journey to adulthood, begins. In the course, Atreo, and therefore Bastian, learns that the nothing can only be stopped if the childlike empress is given a new name, but only by a human child from the real world. And later, when he encounters his worst enemy, he discovers that all of Fantasia is a pure fantasy world, where everything a child in the real world imagines instantly takes shape, while the nothing arises from the lies and doctrines that adults in the real world feed children. When Bastian finally realizes that he is this child, he gives the Empress the desperately requested name, Mondenkind. In the English version, Moonchild. Stands before her in person and, with his wishes, simply recreates vanished Fantasia. In the novel, this takes the majority of the story, and he needs Aurin to do it. And there he doesn't take a stupid dragon joyride in the real world to get, in a pathetic gag scene, revenge on his classmates. The movie ends with the narrator saying that Bastian remains in Fantasia for a long time and experiences many adventures before returning to the earthly world. Even though he has just flown through the streets of Hollywood, filmed in Canada since cheaper, but who cares?